Welcome to part 2 of lecture 1, Introduction to Semiconductor. In this part, we will analyze the semiconductors more from the point of view of energy level and energy bands. So, let's consider a single silicon atom. What is the structure of a single silicon atom? If we look back to the electronic structure of a silicon atom, then we will see that there are 2 electrons in the 1s orbital, 2 electrons in the 2s orbital, 6 in 2p, then last 4 electrons are in the third shell, and among them 2 is in 3s orbital and another 2 in 3p orbital. Okay, so here the electrons are shown by these black small circles. So in a case of isolated silicon atom, each of the orbital has a discrete energy level. What does that mean is, let's say these 2 electrons, this one and this one, this electron here and this one here, they are both in 1s orbital and their energy is fixed, which is shown in this diagram with this level. This is the energy level of these 2 electrons. Then there are another 2 electrons in 2s orbitals, this one and this one here. They have a higher energy than these 2 electrons, but also their energy is fixed. That is shown by this line here, which indicates 2s. So if we go on, there are 6 electrons in the 2p orbital. Their energy is different from 1s orbitals and 2s orbitals, but all the 6 electrons here has the same energy, and that is denoted by this line. So as we go further away from the nucleus, the energy actually increases. This is shown in this diagram. So as the distance increases, here is the distance, as the distance increases, the energy also is increased. Okay. So this is the case when the silicon atom is isolated and has no interaction with any other atoms. As we have seen in the last slide, that in the case of an isolated atom, we have discrete energy levels, but that is not the case when atoms interact with each other. Let's consider hydrogen atom. It has only a single electron in 1s orbital. So the graph here denotes the radial probability distribution of 1s orbital of a hydrogen atom. Let's first not talk about this one here. Consider only the left half of the graph. This is the radial probability distribution of a 1s orbital. This means if we increase the distance from the nucleus, then the probability of finding electron increases and reaches the peak, or the max value of probability is achieved when the distance is a0, and then the probability is gradually decreasing. This is the case when there is only a single hydrogen atom interacting with nothing else. But when 2 hydrogen atoms comes to close proximity and they interact with each other, then these 2 probability distribution functions overlap. Such interaction causes the previously discrete energy level to split into 2 closely separated levels. Let me explain once again. Previously we have seen that 1s orbital of an atom has a quantized energy level, but when 2 atoms interact with each other, there is no longer one discrete energy level for both the electrons. Previously, for hydrogen atoms, there was only one allowed energy level for 1s orbital, but for hydrogen molecules where there are 2 hydrogen atoms, there are actually 2 allowed energy levels for 1s orbital. If more than 2 atoms interact with each other, let's say for a silicon, thousands of atoms interact with each other. In that case, the thousands of discrete energy levels are created for 1s orbital. This is shown in this figure. If there is only 2 atoms or 2 molecules interacting, then the 1s orbital energy level is split into 2 closely separated energy levels, and if there are more atoms interacting, then there for n equal to 1 we are seeing many closely separated energy levels. In case of n equal to 2, we are experiencing more closely separated energy levels. if there are 1000 atoms interacting, then for 1s orbital we will see 1000 closely separated energy levels. And now the separation between these energy levels are so insignificant that we can consider this whole range of energy levels as an energy band. So instead of saying that we have 1000 closely separated energy levels between this value and this value, we will just say that for n equal to 2 we have an energy band. So that is how band is formed. Moving on, in the case of a single atom, we have seen that in this graph we have seen that the energy of 1s orbital is here and the energy of 2s orbital is here. So electrons either will be in 1s orbital or will be in 2s orbital. This gap in between is forbidden for electrons. This is called the forbidden band or the band gap actually. But when the molecules interact with each other, instead of discrete energy levels, we have seen that there are energy bands formed. So in between two energy bands we will see a separation, that is called band gap. Now for a silicon, we have seen that the first two levels, n equal to 1 and n equal to 2, are filled with electrons, but in the case of n equal to 3, for each silicon atom 2 electrons reside in 3s and 2 electrons reside in 3p orbitals. So if we consider large N or capital N to be the number of atoms in a structure, then there will be 2 multiplied by large N electrons in 3s subshell and 2 multiplied by large N electrons in the 3p subshell. So that means in the case of n equal to 3, there are actually total 4n electrons or 4n states. This is called valence band. Over the valence band, there is a band called conduction band, which is in normal cases empty. So here you can see a better representation of this energy bands and energy levels. In the case of a single atom, here is a single atom, we can see the discrete energy levels. There is only one level for 1s, only one level for 2s, and there is a band gap between, or a forbidden gap between these two levels where electrons cannot stay. But for a case of solid, where there are multiple atoms, multiple molecules, then there are no discrete level. Instead, there is a allowed band in between electrons will reside, and they will have energy in between these two values. Again, from n equal to 1 to n equal to 2, there is a band gap where electrons cannot stay, or electrons cannot have the energy in between these two values. Then again, when n is equal to 2, electrons will have energy between this value and between this value. So this is the energy band for n equal to 2. Then again another band gap, and then there is n equal to 3, which is actually the valence band for silicon. And after that, after a band gap, there is also a conduction band. This conduction band is originally empty. When an electron is excited, it jumps from valence band to conduction band. So this white space, white region in between two bands are forbidden bands. These are called band gaps. Now we can distinguish between insulator, semiconductor and metals in the terms of band gap. For example, insulators have a very large band gap. We actually measure the band gap in the unit of electron volts. Typically, the band gap of an insulator is somewhat greater than 5 electron volt. Okay. Semiconductors have band gap between 0.5 to, let's say, 4 or 5 electron volts, and in the case of metals or conductors, there is absolutely no band gap and energy levels are actually overlapping. So here we can see a better view of findings. In the case of an insulator, we can see this is the valence band which is completely filled, and this is the conduction band which is not filled because there is a large band gap between them, typically greater than 5 electron volts. So if one electron wants to jump from valence band to conduction band, the energy of that electron must be increased by at least the value of band gap. As the band gap is so large, we cannot provide such high energy for electrons to jump from valence band to conduction band. That is the reason why insulators do not conduct. Now let's consider the case of conductors. In the case of conductors, band gap is actually 0 because here conduction band and valence bands are overlapping. That means we do not require any extra energy to convert electrons from valence band to conduction bands. That's why conductors are capable of conducting electrons and currents in normal room temperature. So that explains why we call them conductors. Now, so in the case of semiconductors, there is a substantial amount of band gap between the valence band and conduction band, and this band gap is somewhat less than insulator and greater than conductor. That is why it is called semiconductor. In the case of semiconductor, it is possible for providing energy to make the electrons jump from the valence band to conduction band. This actually gives us some control over the conductivity of semiconductor. If we want to make them conductive, we can provide energy to make the electrons jump from valence to conduction band, and if we want to make them non-conducting, then we can remove the source of energy and the semiconductor will act as a pure insulator. So here is a chart of band gaps of some popular materials. Silicon has a band gap of 1.1 electron volt. Germanium has a band gap of 0.7 electron volt. Gallium arsenide, which is a compound semiconductor, has a band gap of 1.4 electron volt. Silicon dioxide has a band gap of 9 electron volt. And now, as we can see that the band gap of silicon dioxide is greater than 5 electron volt. That's why it's not an semiconductor; it's an insulator. In spite of having silicon in it, silicon dioxide is not a semiconductor. Then we can move to gallium nitride. This has a band gap of 3.4, which is, we can consider it it is a semiconductor. But diamond has a band gap greater than 5.1 actually. It's an insulator. Here are some other informations about the band gap and the conduction and valence bands. You can see the information here. This is where our part 2 ends. Looking forward to see you in the part 3. Thank you.